NGO My Vote Counts has taken a dim view of Parliament passing amendments allowing political parties to receive twice as much in donations, 30 million to the previous 15 million rands. The amendments also permit parties to declare a minimum of 200,000 rands to the previous 100,000. The NGO is at the forefront of a court bid to ensure that independent candidates and political parties alike disclose all donations they receive down to the last cent. My Vote Counts says the rush to pass the amendment, even as a full bench of the Western Cape High Court considers the matter, speaks to what is driving political parties.
We see this as politically expedient. We see this as political parties favoring secrecy, favoring their own interests and those of their donors over transparency and accountability. We understand that politics is expensive, right? Parties need money to operate and to fulfill their roles in a constitutional democracy. But there has to be a balance between the rights of people to know who funds parties and to limit the influence of private actors in our politics. And it seems to us that there was no urgency to do this.
Drive growth.
The amendments have been passed based on a report drafted by the Home Affairs Portfolio Committee. However, not all the represented political parties have assented to the amendments in the parliamentary vote earlier this week. Notable in opposition to them were the ATM, Build One South Africa, and Action SA. Their concern relates to the amendments doing little to promote transparency and prevent the financial capture of the country's politics. Bergman says that Parliament's latest move is inexplicable.
The whole process is irrational. The Parliamentary Budget Office, when it was asked to do research on this process, found that the original limits, there's no justification for them. There's no rational reason as to why those were the original limits. And now what the Portfolio Committee on Home Affairs has done, and now what the National Assembly is also complicit in doing, is perpetuating this irrational approach to our political funding limits.
Compliance with the provisions of the Political Party Funding Act has long been a concern amongst political parties themselves. Some have pointed at the discrepancy between donations declared and lavish spending on election campaigns by some parties, culminating in calls for a review on the legislation. The latest amendments, however, may not be what some have thought to be as a solution. Home Affairs Portfolio Committee Chair Musa Chabani explains what happens next.
Now that the Parliament has passed this draft resolution, it will be submitted to the President for him to then consider his process and the team in terms of whether the amounts that have been carried by Parliament are sufficient for political party. But I think he will look on various aspects in terms of the Electoral Amendment Act of 2024, in terms of the cost of running political affairs and independent activities. As you know, that now that the Act requires individual to participate as individual. Two, it also look on the inflation. I think we're fully aware that we're pressed on the fiscal. So these are among the issues that the President may need to consider. You must also know that the state is unable to fully fund political parties. And that is the reason that inform political parties to source funds from various spectrum.
There are mounting calls for the IEC's political party funding unit to be given more powers to police irregularities pertaining to declarations from political parties.
I think and hope that these deliberations will begin to look at the two, that is the Commission or is the EMB the right institution to implement political funding, so that political funding must do its work outside the interference of whether the political party has transgressed the law or not. So in terms of whether the Commission wants it internally or not, the National Assembly took a decision that the best organization to implement it is the IEC.
Meanwhile, the IEC will be holding a political party symposium next month. Top of the agenda will be to discuss ways in which to close the loopholes in the Political Party Funding Act and whether or not more powers should be given to the Commission to hold political parties to account in regards to donations. Natasha Phiri, SABC News, Johannesburg.